Hello, I'm Dr. Basil Considine. I'm here from the ACU Online Writing Center, and today we're going to talk about how to write a first-person essay in APA style. It is a common misconception that APA style prohibits the use of first-person phrasing. I did this, I did that, I believe that, when in fact APA style has not only authorized the use, but encouraged it to clarify who did what ever since APA 6th edition. So we'll talk about this during the next 30-40 minutes, and we'll talk about this specifically through the lens of an assignment in the HIED program. If you're not familiar with the ACU Online Writing Center, we work with students at all stages of the writing process, from initial drafting and interpreting assignment instructions to understanding particulars of formatting to how to structure and write and revise your drafts. So you can work with us at many different stages of the process, directly and indirectly. We have a wide variety of content available on our website, including paper templates, videos such as this, sample papers for some programs, and other resources. You can also make an appointment to get feedback on a paper draft. You can sign up for either an asynchronous appointment where you reserve a time, upload your paper, and by the time that rolls around, we will go in and look at it and send you feedback, generally within 24 hours. Alternately, you can request a phone or Zoom appointment that takes place in real time if you want to ask questions and have a dialogue back and forth. It's a matter of preference, which works best for you. Many students will try both and then switch back and forth depending on the particular question or questions that they have. You can also send us an email if you have a more narrow or specific question and you don't think it needs the whole appointment, and you can send us the questions via email at any day of the week and with no restriction on how many per week. For appointments, you're allowed up to 2 per week, availability permitting, and do sign up sooner rather than later. All right. Some webinars that we have coming up. You might be interested in our Beyond Summary webinar coming up on Tuesday, the 5th of April. That is one of our classic webinars that we offer every semester. Also that day, we'll be having a virtual release of a recording for writing about religious beliefs and personal conflict. And later that week, we'll be doing a webinar looking at how to use Google Docs to facilitate group project and group work. If you haven't been to the Writing Center website recently, you might not know about this next thing. So we have a lot of webinar recordings that are available, and we've added a guide to sort it by program. So for example, if you were in ConR, you could go to ConR and look at the webinars that tie directly with specific courses and assignments in that program, or HIED in this case. So we have a number of resources on the website that I've mentioned. You'll see me using the APA course paper template later. We have a YouTube channel that we upload our videos to, as well as a blog where we explore various writing topics. So our main purpose today is to understand how to write in first-person perspective in APA style. Now we're going to look at a specific assignment in the HIED program that requires that you write about yourself, naturally using first-person perspective. And then we'll finish with a discussion of how to outline and draft the assignment, keeping in mind some of the occasions where you'll want to be writing in first-person style, and also some places where you perhaps don't want to. All right, so let's talk about first-person perspective in APA style. There are many reasons why you might use it, but in this particular context, specifically when you're discussing research, personal, and professional actions, things that you have done. And it's that clarifying who did what that is really important, that really provides a good reason for using first-person perspective, because it can be distracting if you use it too much. If every sentence is I, first of all, it's monotonous. Second of all, it makes it sound like the focus is on you rather than on the things that you're doing. And third, it can obscure the things that you are trying to get the readers to pay attention to. So using first-person perspective is very helpful when you're describing something that you yourself did. And that includes when you are referring to things that you did with your co-workers, your co-authors, or your co-researchers. We use we. And this is all, again, about clarifying who did what. If you say, oh, the participants were interviewed, that doesn't tell us who did it. Now, if you've said in a previous sentence, oh, I will conduct all the interviews, or I conducted all the interviews, then that's fine. Then we know who did it. But in general, you want to make sure who's doing the action is clear, because it does make a difference in how many things are interpreted. Another reason to use first-person perspective is to avoid anthropomorphism. The classic is to say, oh yes, the study collected this. Well, the study isn't alive, it's the people in the study. And that's important because, if it's someone who has specific training in this versus someone who doesn't, or whether there's an automated mechanism, or many other factors. So clarifying who did what, and avoid anthropomorphizing something like the process, or procedure, or a tool. So what about personal beliefs? Well, if you're going to be writing about those, you want to use personal pronouns, I and my, to describe your views, like, I believe that, I define this thing this way, my personal belief is that. And if you're writing about your actions, again, personal pronouns are very helpful for showing explicitly who did what. Like, I am currently working on this. I plan to do that. I have asked 2 coworkers to be my accountability partners. Now, when you're writing about yourself, unless your views and actions have been specifically documented in some published format, you won't be citing a source. The citations are generally for retrievable things, citations and references, things that other people could theoretically access. So if you gave an interview for a magazine, you could, I suppose, cite that, but that would be distracting in most assignments because it would be more indirect, less filtered than you're just saying, oh, here's what I believe. Now, if you are using citations to clarify what you're referring to, or to explain a term or how you're using it, that's certainly fine. But just keep in mind how it's used in the sentence and whether it's clear that the citation is for a particular piece of information, the signal phrase is for a particular piece of information. For example, I have been working on following the 7 steps of leadership cultivation listed by Blackhand 2020. Oh, yeah, it's identifying, oh, the 7 steps, there's a source, Blackhand 2020. Now, along with the myth about APA style and first-person perspective, then the ongoing confusion or misunderstanding and where people believe that they're not allowed to use first-person perspective when it's more, don't overuse it or use it distractingly. Similarly, APA style discourages the overuse of passive voice, but it doesn't prohibit it. If we have a whole paragraph where it's all starts with sentences like, these things were done, this person was interviewed, then we don't know for sure who did it. It's helpful to identify, at least in the first sentence of the paragraph, who is doing the actions that are being referred to, and then you can switch to passive voice to avoid having a string of sentences that all start with I statements. So an example of how you might use the passive voice is here. I have developed a 5-stage plan for personal improvement. During the first stage, the focus will be on assessing my weaknesses. During the second stage, the focus will shift to identifying potential growth areas. And so in this case, you can see the first sentence starts with I have developed, and then the plan is described in this less direct, more passive manner. All right. Now that we've talked about those basic principles, let's go ahead and take a look at this assignment. So this is coming from the Leadership in Higher Education course, the Week 4 Assignment 1, Leadership as Influence. And we start out with a brief preamble. In this module, one of the key chapters you read in the book, Thriving in Leadership, is entitled Orchestrating Influence. This chapter has many great practical tips and strategies for developing influence within your own organizational context. Now we move into the specific assignment instructions about what you're supposed to do. For this assignment, revisit this chapter and create a 600 to 900 word future-oriented paper detailing what steps that you might take to become a person of influence within your organization. Be sure to include some of the following: specific examples of what you might do to orchestrate influence at your current or future organization, specific areas within your organization that would receive your focus, and potential benefits to your organization. So here we have a set of requirements, or a set of things that are listed with the note, be sure to include. And I would suggest in general, when you see this for an assignment, as you might in a business meeting, to interpret this as a list of requirements. So, suggestions that you really should follow. Now, as for how long this should be, the paper length should be 600 to 900 words, not counting the title page, not counting the references. And that works out to around 2.5 to 3.5 pages. In general, writing in APA style, with the course paper template, meaning 1-inch margins, 12-point times New Roman font, you're going to have around 250 words per page. So you should definitely have more than 2 complete pages of content. Somewhere around 2.5 to around 3.5 pages of content. All right, so let's take a look at the rubric. Okay, demonstrates an in-depth understanding, appropriate use, and correct implementation of theories, concepts, and strategies presented. Oh, let's go take a look back at the instructions here. So the instructions say, make sure that you include specific examples of things you might do, specific areas within your organization to focus on, potential benefits. But here the rubric is saying, oh, there's some specific things they want to see along the way. Talk about theories, concepts, or strategies that you're using. So definitely that's something you should make sure gets into your outline. The next item, let's see, writing is clear, concise, and well organized. Yes, it's always a good thing, with excellent sentence and paragraph construction. Thoughts are expressed in a coherent, logical manner, limited errors. And then another note, all aspects of the assignment are explicitly addressed. So to get full credit, this is telling me that you want to make sure you do everything that is listed in the outline, to make sure you've explicitly addressed everything, that your wording aligns with the instructions, so it's clear that you're doing each of those. And also keeping in mind the first item in the rubric, which is 30% of the grade, making sure that you're demonstrating that you not only understand, but are planning to use the things from the reading like theories, concepts, and strategies to achieve your goal. So let's take a look at the outlining and drafting part. Well, we're going to start with a copy of our APA course paper template, and we'll move from there. Now I have here a copy of our APA course paper template pulled up, and when you first download this, it will have various comments and instructions. We can take those out really quickly, review, delete all comments and document, and then there are various placeholders that you want to fill in. Now in this case, we are looking at our assignment, Leadership as Influence. Go ahead and fill in your name, your program, the course. This would be HIED 672. The instructor, the date that you turned it in. You'll see that the template already has page numbers and other things like that set up already. Now this assignment doesn't require an abstract, so we'll just delete that section. And then the same title that you have on the title page should go here at the top, the body. And I'll go ahead and delete this placeholder text, as well as the placeholder reference text here. Now, you may recall that the instructions do refer to the chapter in Thriving in Leadership. Now, if this is a book that is written by one author or set of authors, then you cite the book as a whole. If it's in an edited volume where there are different contributors writing the different chapters, then you would have your reference and citations be leading to a specific chapter. But in this case, single author book, all right, let's make sure we get that in the reference list because it is requiring that we use this, so better put it in. So if we look at the syllabus here, at the list of required textbooks, you'll see that we have the Dr. Longman's book here. Now, this is filled with the information that helps you access and order the book if you want to have a hard copy, but that's more information than we actually need, because City and State doesn't actually need to be included in APA 7th edition. It should not be included. The ISBN number, same thing, and this place, the fact that it's available in ACU's library specifically, not needed, should not be in there. We also want to reformat the title so that it is in italics and in sentence case rather than in title case. So that'll look like this. We take that information, we cut out the bits that don't belong in APA 7th edition, and we add the missing formatting, the italics, change the title from title case into sentence case because that's how we format book titles in the reference list. And that should be all ready to paste in. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that now. And I'm just going to paste it here, and we've got that hanging indent there. Great. All right, now that we've got our reference in there, let's go ahead and get the instructions here. Now, if you haven't watched our webinars before, I strongly recommend working with the assignment instructions as the basis for your outline, because it's the blueprint that your professors will have in hand as they go around grading this. So let's go ahead and grab that. I've gone ahead and pasted the instructions here, but I'm also going to paste in that line from the rubric that mentioned using specific theories and such. Now the next step, I'm going to go ahead and cross out things that will not be directly part of what you write, but are more, setting the context. So here, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, this is telling me do the reading, right? But that doesn't affect what I write in a direct sense. I'm going to cross it out so I can focus on what's left here. Revisit this chapter. Right, cross it out. Future-oriented paper detailing what steps you might... Okay. So from this, and I'm going to go ahead and remove these italics just so I can see clearly what is the instruction versus what's going in for the outlining. So I'm going ahead and I'll add a bullet here. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and bold everything that's coming from the instructions and the rubric, and not bold what I add for the outline. So there's some things that we know should go in there. You need to describe person of influence, what that does that mean. So we're either going to give the definition or describe personal goal of becoming a person of influence. Describe the organization, because if I want to become a person of influence in the organization, that's going to depend a lot on what sort of organization is, how large, and so forth. Here's another thing where, alright, using this as a list, I don't need this instruction because the rest of the outline is my reminder of that. Okay, specific examples of what I want to do. Now, I may not know all the specific exact actions, but I know they're going to need a few. and 3 is a good starting point because I can always add more. And I know that I should be grounding this in the reading here, so we should be having a citation for, what was that? Oh yes, Longman 2012. So I'm giving myself a note there so that when I am doing the reading, I can make sure to look out for that. Same thing here. Name some areas. All right. And you can go ahead and, as you do the reading and see, oh, this is just doing this for these reasons, you can go ahead and add that here. Now, we want to make sure that it's referring to theories, concepts, and or strategies throughout. So this is a good place to just start listing things you might use as you do the reading. Now, going back to where we started here with the first-person perspective, okay, well, one way you might do that is okay, just tell us, okay, my personal goal is to become this at that, and then explain what that means. And examples are helpful for grounding it. Okay, so what does influence mean? Is this your personal definition? Is it a definition from the reading? Is it something where there's a particular attraction to it? You know, to give us some of the why. And, you know, as part of the how you will be influential, describe the organization. What is it now? What do you do now versus what you want to do after you become a person of influence, for example. All right, and I think that's probably a good point to stop it, and except saying that, remember, use those I statements to clarify who did what. So for this one, it could be, I plan to, did, or I will work on this, I will plan on this, I will develop that. Because you are listing specific things that you will be doing. Now, it could be you are working with someone else. My professional career coach and I will, perhaps, or my therapist and I will X, or I will lead my team and we will do X. Now, after that, you can follow up with sentences in passive voice, but if you start the paragraph listing, here's a specific action that these people are doing, that's helpful, that clarifies who's doing what. Now do remember to go back to the rubric and make sure that you have checked for all these things, that you are mentioning these theories, you are discussing them and applying them to demonstrate that you understand them, and you have a clear strategy for implementing this. You've covered all of the areas outlined here, and of course, remember to run a spelling and grammar check to catch some simple errors. It's always a shame to lose points there. All right, let's do a quick recap of what we talked about today. So we began with the discussion of first-person perspective in APA style, what's allowed, what's encouraged, when it's appropriate, and some examples of phrasing. We discussed the specific assignment from HIED 672's the Week 4 Assignment 1, Leadership as Influence, and how the requirements for this assignment were listed both in general instructions and also clarified in the rubric. And we finished with the discussion of outline and drafting, including specifically how to take the assignment instructions and use that as a model for not just writing in the form of an APA paper, but also writing a paper that responds to the requirements in the assignment in the order that they are going to be looked for. So using the instructions as a model for how you structure your paper, and to give yourself a list of things to be looking for as you do the course reading. Do make sure to add your references and keep those current. If you add a new source that you cite, make sure it goes in the references. And with that, let us bring things to a close. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to send us an email or check out the resources on the Online Writing Center website. Have a good evening, everyone.